was the coordinator of the meal train, I believe, and did just a tremendous amount of support for him. And going out in the middle of the night when he fell and broke his leg and that sort of thing. So, thank you, Cathy.
I laid eyes on Ediger the first time at the TCR in 1988, down on not Flat Creek, but out at Little Arkansas. And I saw this tall guy walking, blazing a trail through all the people, and it was Gill. And he was telling people, not telling people what to do, but directing everything that was going on out there. He was really good at directing people to do things. And he directed me to do registration for many years thereafter. So I got to know a lot of people that ordinarily I would never have met. That was the first time. Later, when I moved across the creek from his house, I would pop over to his house because he was my neighbor, and I'd go see him. And we were talking one day about Midnight Cave, and Blake was in town. And by the weekend, we were going to Carter Valley to get into Midnight Cave, which was unheard of. And I think 5 or 6 of us made that trip. We saw Michel Souffre's platform. We went through the cave, and I have to say, it was one of the most fun caves I'd ever been in. And while we were sitting outside the room full of helictites, Gill was telling a story about his dropping his lamp. In a previous trip, he had dropped his lamp, and he'd gone down a hole, and he had lost his lamp, which was, kind of embarrassing. And as he was finishing his story, John Fogerty said, "Could it have been this one?" Because all the time that Gill was telling the story, John was fishing around with his arm up to his armpit, poking around in a hole until he got hold of that lamp and held it up. So Gill left with his lamp.
Was it that lamp?
It could very well have been that very lamp.
Let's say it was.
It was just right, I know that. I don't really honestly know why. I don't really know why Gill started, or why he picked me to be his medical power of attorney. It was something that we talked about. We interviewed each other. We had long discussions about what I am willing to do, what I can do, what I will not do. And he had long discussions about what he did not want to happen, the care he wanted to receive, and how was it going to go about happening in some cases. But the truth is, we had only the vaguest, consider an etch-a-sketch of what this next 7 years was going to be like, because I think that's about how long his major decline took. It took about 7 years. We did our level damnedest to keep him in his house. We knew that keeping him in his house was critical to keeping Gill there, not physically, but mentally. He'd already shown signs. I learned this later. He had talked about losing his marbles to Bev back in 2003 on a trip to Mexico. He asked her outright, "Would you tell me if you thought I was losing my marbles?" And Bev, to her credit, said, "Why? Are you?" Which led to a conversation instead of a dead end. And I think Gill knew for a long time that this was happening. He told me after his mother died and he was trying to give me her baking pans. My daddy died of dementia and my mama died of Alzheimer's just last month. And I said, "Wow, that's pretty impressive." And he said, "It'll probably get me too." And that was just how straight he was about it. And that clarity that he had enabled all of us, every one of us who helped him in any way, to stay clear on what the focus, what the job was of the moment, and not go down the steep slope of emotional reaction. And I gotta say, I think that he picked 4 extraordinarily well-matched, well-suited people for being his medical team. And that was me after many negotiations, Josie, Kate, and Denise Pendergast. Denise's contribution was absolutely stunning. She's not here, but it didn't matter because when he needed her skill was drawing people together and getting him to social activities where he could still be with people and he could still be present and he could be Gill. And it was wonderful that happened. Kate was for me, she was a sounding board who always had a sound answer and a clear path to an end. And that was really invaluable to me. She was involved with having a baby, and that's a big deal, but that was her contribution to Gill too. Josie's medical knowledge enabled the two of us mainly to make good decisions on Gill's behalf and to make them quickly and to turn when the events of his falling and his spending time in hospitals, when those things changed the path of the care treatment, our ability to make decisions on his behalf quickly is what enhanced his meager experience of life, because at that point it was a meager experience of life. But everybody who went and saw him, everybody who went and visited him, thank you. Thanks. It was great.